Hello, friends, and welcome back to Malicious Compliance Stories. Let's start today's video with a story about a man who just needed some simple notary services, but instead of getting help, he ran into a bank employee who went out of her way to humiliate him. But before we begin, best way to support our channel is to leave comments, like, and subscribe with the turned-on bell so you don't miss the new video every single day. Here we go. Wanted a notary, got a lecture. This was a few years ago as I was preparing to apply to the local sheriff's department. I was in need of many documents and quite a few needed to be notarized. I noticed that my local bank, Fargo, offered these services and they were complimentary. Being a thorough person, I called the corporate office before I set out and confirmed that they offered these services and that they were free with my current membership. I arrived at the bank around 2 p.m. and they were not busy, so I walk in and speak with the tellers, and they're all surprised by the fact that I'm asking for notary as the lady who does this doesn't like to do notary. Me. I don't care. This is a service I need and don't want to pay for because of this person's feelings. So they shrug and call her over, and she proceeds to lecture me about the policy and how she's been scammed by people all the time, becoming louder and louder, insinuating that I was trying to scam. As I stood there taking the verbal tirade it hit me, she wants a reaction to validate her insinuations. I thanked them for their help and support and left. Now, I'm not a scholar, but I did score really well on my reading and writing comprehension, and I used every ounce of my knowledge to write a 1-star review on Yelp. This location already had horrible ratings, but then I had a stroke of genius. I took my 401k and savings from there and put it in my credit union. This, plus the review, must have sparked something. A few weeks later, I stopped by to take care of a few things and saw my friend at the teller line and asked him why he looked so stressed out. They'd just been through a week of customer service training and an audit. Management was not happy. I laughed and told him about my review. He was kind of upset and said that I could have just talked to the vile woman. No, she was intent on demeaning me and humiliating me in public to listen when I told her I had spoken to corporate about the services offered, and she just doubled down and refused service. She deserved the reprimand. I was happy that she didn't get fired, but the customer service training was pretty funny and much needed, LOL. You did the right thing. I'm upvoting you because I like seeing people reap what they sow. Pulling your 401k in savings was the cleanest consequence imaginable. Between the Yelp nuke and the asset exit, management suddenly discovering customer service training feels instructive. Karma by audit. And our second story. Told me to quit if I didn't like it. So I did. I, 31-year-old male, was in Navy aviation before getting my A&P license with the GI Bill. I landed a job at a small air operation, about 10 mechanics total. I usually click with older guys, grew up on their shows, their music, their humor. They tend to adopt me as one of their own, except for one. Let's call him Ray Ray. Ray Ray was miserable. For reasons I still don't know, he despised me. I wasn't reckless or disrespectful. If someone didn't like my jokes, I stopped. I kept things professional, asked for help when needed, and did my job right. But Ray Ray nitpicked everything I did. He wasn't QA, but he'd recheck my work, hoping to catch mistakes. I reported it, and management's response was, ignore him. Funny part, during my interview, both my boss, an old Marine, and supervisor warned me Ray Ray will pick someone to hate and try to get them fired. So they knew, and they never stepped in. There was another mechanic, Javier, a couple of years younger but with more experience. He and I became close. I specialized in electrical, he in inspections, and together we could handle anything. We volunteered for the tough jobs in the heat or rain, skipped breaks, worked through lunch. We earned a lot of overtime and kept things moving. That's when the boss turned. Suddenly overtime wasn't authorized. Twice he chewed me out on the hangar floor for working too much. One day, Javier and I had a stubborn issue. Boss was useless, so we called the manufacturer for advice. They gave us a fix. Boss dismissed them as idiots. They just build it. They don't fix it. Then he gave us his own solution. We told him it wasn't physically possible, citing basic fluid laws. He didn't care, demanded we try it. We did. It failed, exactly as we said. We looked at each other, clocked out, and went home. If it had worked, we'd have apologized. It didn't. Not long after, Javier and I finished a bird. It was airworthy, everything checked. Ray wrote up a bogus discrepancy anyway. It didn't affect airworthiness, so we deleted it. We knew he was just stirring trouble. But the drama snowballed, and a few days later, boss called me in ready to fire me. He listed his reasons, but one that stood out: when you and Javier walked off the job, you should have quit. You'd have done me a effing favor. I stayed calm, told him straight. I reported Ray for harassment. Nothing was done. They knew about him before hiring me and admitted he targeted people. I always adjusted if asked, kept things professional. Boss's face shifted. He realized firing me could open him up to legal trouble. Instead, he told me to get back to work. 5 minutes after leaving his office, I got a job offer call. I accepted immediately. Javier already knew about the conversation, so I told him I'm going to do boss a favor. I planned to pack my stuff over the weekend and quit Monday, but the next day I realized I could do better. I packed my box, got a parts guy to load it into my truck with a forklift, and left. No notice, no goodbye, just gone. Javier texted later, I couldn't come back into the building to return uniforms and my badge. Boss had banned me. Apparently someone had seen me leaving with the box and asked boss if I'd quit. Boss stormed onto the hangar floor screaming, "F that mother effer! I don't want that piece of crap back in my effing building!" Javier did my box check to ensure I hadn't stolen company property and didn't care if he got in trouble for it. The parts guy caught heat for using the forklift too, but said it was worth it to see boss lose his mind. I dropped my badge and uniforms off to Javier in the parking lot. He told me boss had locked himself in his office and went home early. I thought that was the end. But nope, Javier kept me updated. Boss couldn't stop talking crap about me, so I started referring my old coworkers to my new job. Andy, Robbie, Quentin. Every time there was an opening, I passed the word. Quentin eventually got hired, and during his exit interview, boss apparently ranted, "Thanks for giving 2 weeks, unlike that mother effer OP. I swear to God, if I ever see that guy, I'll knock his little bee butt out." Yeah. My old boss, a grown man, threatened to assault me in public over leaving a job. I laughed when Quentin told me, please let him try. In front of witnesses with documentation, that lawsuit'd pay for my retirement. Even funnier, Javier told me Ray gave the same line, "If I ever see OP in public, I'll knock him out." Again, yes, please, make my day. It's been 8 months at the new place. I love it. Meanwhile, I still get texts from old coworkers saying boss brings me up constantly, ranting and raving about how I left. That's the part that makes me smile most, because the truth is, I'm doing just fine. And boss, he's still stewing. I'm living rent-free in his head, and I'm poaching every decent mechanic I can from under him. If things keep going this way, his bosses will see nothing but turnover on his watch, all while wondering why his shop keeps bleeding good mechanics. That's the best revenge, knowing he tried everything to push me out, and in the end, I walked on my own terms. And now, I'm making sure he feels it every single day. Obviously, Ray had some dirt or power that keeps him employed. That or boss and Ray are super chummy. Seems crazy that boss would be so worked up. But glad you're gone and in a better place. And our last story. Entitled couple claimed our land was public. My parents live in a gated community and had their house custom built years ago. They bought 3 acres for the house and an extra 3-acre lot next to it just for privacy. They didn't want some building right up against them, so the second lot sat empty, grass and trees untouched. One summer evening around 7 p.m., I was upstairs texting when I noticed flashlight beams sweeping across the empty lot. That land was ours, so I told my dad right away. He figured maybe it was HOA inspectors doing one of their obsessive tree checks, so we walked out to see what was going on. Nope, not inspectors. Instead, standing in our lot like they owned it were 3 strangers, a middle-aged woman, her husband, and a teenage son carrying a BB gun. They were setting up traps in a gated community on private land. Dad called out, "Hey, can we help you?" The woman, who I'll just call Karen, looked at him like we were the intruders. "No, we're just going hunting. This is a really nice neighborhood." Dad blinked. "Sorry, but this is our property. You can't hunt here. And besides, the only wildlife around here is squirrels and the occasional deer." Karen waved him off. "No, this is public land. We just set a few traps for deer." Her husband, let's call him Kevin, finally chimed in, crossing his arms like he was preparing for a fight. "Is there a problem?" he asked. Karen immediately threw him fuel. "They're saying this is private property, but I doubt that." I didn't waste time. I slipped back inside and called community security. They'd know what to do. Meanwhile, outside, my dad kept trying to reason with them. "Dad, look, I'm telling you, this is our land. You can't just set traps." "Karen, we're helping. Fewer deer means fewer accidents and less noise at night. This is good for the community." "Dad, it's not up to you to decide. I might want to build on this land someday, and I don't want you dumping dead animals here." Kevin scoffed. "Even if you do own it, you obviously don't use it. We drove an hour to get here. You really can't just let us hunt?" Karen nodded along, acting like they were martyrs. "Exactly. If we kill the deer, they won't bother you later when you build. You can even keep the meat." Dad shook his head. "No, leave now or I'm going to—" That's when headlights cut across the lot and the security truck rolled up, tires crunching on the gravel. The officer leaned out his window. "Evening, folks. We've already had reports about you. This is private property. Pack it up." Karen's entire demeanor flipped instantly. "This man is bullying my son for hunting," she shrieked, pointing at my dad. Security didn't budge. "Lady, it doesn't matter. Even if this wasn't private land, you can't hunt in a gated community. And for the record, you're trespassing. We checked gate footage. You tailgated another car to sneak in." The son just looked mortified, standing there with his BB gun like he wanted the earth to swallow him whole. Honestly, I felt kind of bad for him. He clearly didn't want to be there. Security ordered them out immediately. "You're banned. If you show up again without permission, the police will be called and you'll be trespassed formally." Karen sputtered, "But we—" The officer cut her off. "No buts. Get moving." They left, muttering the whole way while their son trailed behind, face red. Afterward, my dad turned to me and just shook his head. "Some people." I couldn't help but laugh. These people thought they could just roll into a gated neighborhood, sneak onto private land, set traps, and then play the victim when caught. The HOA usually nitpicks about things like mailbox paint or lawn height, but when it came to actual trespassing with weapons, Karen and her family got the boot in record time. And thanks to gate security, they'll never be back. The story's a reminder that while some individuals operate in a world of selfish delusion, systems and boundaries, when properly enforced, still work. Hey guys, thank you all for watching the video. I'll see you in the next one.